Hopefully you have had a chance to look at the last video where I just went over some basic tips and some of the tools we'll be using. I have my cutting mat here, I got my metal ruler, I got my utility knife, and I'll also be working with a hot glue, one of the glue guns today. I think these work best with cardboard. If you don't have one, that's okay. White glue or wood glue should work okay as well. It just takes a little bit more control. And the dry time might be a little bit longer, so just keep that in mind. When we're working with the cardboard, I want you to be aware of the corrugation, whether it's double ply, or it's 2 layers of corrugation, or single ply corrugation. The direction the corrugation is going has to do with the strength of the cardboard. So you can see the corrugation here, so that means the strength is going to be going down here. It can take much more weight and pressure in that direction versus in this direction, where it can be a little bit more wobbly. It's still got some strength to it, but if you're working on a larger scale, it's not going to be nearly as strong this way as it would this way. So it's something to be aware of, depending on what your intentions are. And that goes for both pieces. Working with the hot glue, I just want to point this out really quick. It doesn't take much glue to adhere cardboard together. So if you do a full squeeze on this trigger, you can get a lot more glue than you need to, depending on what you're doing. So a full squeeze, and you can see it produces a lot of glue, and that's a lot more than we usually need. So it's best to do kind of a partial squeeze and really pay attention to how that glue is coming out. All right? Wipe off that tip to kind of keep it from straining too much. You're good to go. I created a little placemat for my experiments today, which I'm going to show you. I'm just going to go over 6 basic techniques to work with, starting with just a basic joint, adhering 2 pieces of cardboard together. Pretty straightforward, but I want you to be aware of just the cleanliness of this and the accuracy. It's really important to measure twice, cut once, I say. All right. And again, not much glue to adhere those 2 pieces together. I don't have any excess glue in the seam of the joints. There's no excess glue coming out the back of it at all. So really be aware of that and be mindful. The cuts are nice and clean. There's no real fringed edges. So be aware. The next one is the slit or slot method. Now this doesn't really require any glue. It's just about how you cut the cardboard and kind of sliding it together. So making some real simple kind of slots in there, and then it just slides into place, holding it. It's good for kind of a temporary joint, temporary hold. It doesn't have as much strength. You can reinforce this with glue if you wanted to, but depending on what your intentions are, you have to kind of ask, is this really the best method? But experiment with that. The stacking method is anytime we are taking pieces of cardboard and laying them face to face to create, some depth to it, I guess. And this is good if you're trying to reinforce the interior inside of some cardboard. You can place it on the interior if you think that your cardboard is going to start to sag. Imagine if I'm working larger scale and I wanted to put a layer on top, and this might begin to sag. And if you don't want that to happen, then you can stack a piece of cardboard on the inside to kind of act like a reinforcement. Also, depending on what you're trying to do, you can do some creative things with stacking. So when it comes to gluing, again, it doesn't take much, just a little bit, one simple bead, and get this little staircase going on. There we go. Cool. Yeah. So that's your stacking right there. The half cut. This is basically 1 piece of cardboard. Looks somewhat like a basic joint over here, which is like 2 pieces of cardboard, but this is just 1 piece here. And how you do that is with, just like the namesake, a half cut. So you just want to be careful as you cut through it, so you're not cutting through both sides of the face of the cardboard. And when we do that, just being really mindful and paying attention to how much pressure we're applying. Blade out, just 2 clicks, light pressure, just letting it slide across the cardboard, hardly pressing at all, and voila, there you go, that's the half cut. All right. The flap joint is similar to the half cut, but you're just taking a step further. The flap joint, in theory, it looks like the basic joint where the 2 pieces are being adhered together, but the final touch, you don't see any of that interior corrugation. You don't see any of that edge. It's all nice and smooth. And how you do that is you take in a half cut and then removing the corrugation that you don't want. Just being gentle, comes off fairly easy. If that's not coming off easy, a little bit of moisture will help release the glue that's holding that corrugation in place. And then from there, that can just go right over and seal the edge. Then you have this nice smooth seam, just like that. Okay? So that's the flap joint. The accordion cut, when you're trying to do a rounded edge, cardboard, it does have a malleable kind of characteristic to it, where you can, if you wanted to, you can shape it to kind of form and curve the way you want it to. So depending on what you're trying to do, this might be the option that's most suitable. But it doesn't really stay in place, and it's losing some of its structural integrity when you do that. You're kind of weakening it. So an alternative to that would be the accordion cut. Accordion cut is basically a half cut in repetition. So I've taken the 1 sheet of cardboard, and then with repeated cuts through it, I can make a nice curved edge. And here, with the double ply corrugation, I've cut all the way through. You can see it's gone all the way through. Here, I've only gone through 1 layer of the corrugation. So it still has the flexibility, but not nearly as much. Again, depending on what your intentions are, something to be aware of. So, with this piece, let's say I'm going to continue that accordion cut, just line it up. One cut, just to lead, second cut goes a little bit further through. Do that again. 1 cut to lead, second cut a little further through. 1 cut to lead. Let's see how that looks. Bam. 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 Cool. There you go. So that's the accordion cut right there. All right. And that works really well if you are, again, trying to make some kind of curved edge to it. So this is a good example of that accordion cut in practice. All right. So practice those. We got the basic joint. We got the slit or slot. We got the stacking. We got the half cut. We got your flap joint. Remember the flap joint? And the accordion cut. Then I got 2 more over here. What are we going to do with those? That is for you to put your creative expertise to the test. Enjoy, you guys.